On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, college basketball practice is back. It is in the air. The schedules have been finalized. Rosters have been finalized. And most importantly, we have TikToks that are driving old people crazy because basketball players are making TikToks again, and the boomers are not having it. They're losing their minds. It's in the air. I'm getting fired up seeing clips of Cooper Flagg dunking at Duke practice, clips of Danny Hurley motherfucking his guys, but not really, because it gets worse. Because you know when the cameras are on, he tones it down a little bit. But college basketball is we're less than 6 weeks away from the first games tipping off, and I'm fired up about it. So we're gonna talk about initial reactions, seeing the balls bouncing in practice. Jake Diebler is getting after it in practice. The Buckeye in me is optimistic about this season. Also, Derrick Rose retired. That's news. That is Derrick Rose is 1 year younger than me, but I still feel like I looked up to him in a weird way. He was like one of those guys that I don't know. I'll save it for when we get into it in the show. But he was. It's a moment that's not surprising that he retired, but it also like kind of hit me. It hit me as like a. Damn, I guess I am sort of getting old, and I'm reflecting on like what Derrick Rose was as a basketball player, as a both in the college sense and in the NBA, but more importantly, like to me, he represented like a grassroots type of figure. Like he was a guy for the streets, and I guess I want to talk about that a little bit because I think back on Derrick Rose, and my immediate mind goes to like AAU and high school, and like I just picture a guy like walking around the city of Chicago as a god at like 17 years old, and I find that fascinating because I don't know how many guys like that still exist in this era of basketball. Meanwhile, in South Bend, Indiana, Micah Shrewsberry lands 5-star Jalen Harrelson, who's from Indianapolis. And this was massive because for two things. One, Indiana thought they were getting him. Indiana is on a little bit of a NIL resurgence, and how good will the Hoosiers actually be this year, and will this all come to fruition? We will see. But Purdue going to the national championship has like reinvigorated the bagmen at Indiana, and they have seemingly been getting everybody they wanted. They thought they were going to get Jalen Harrelson, this 5-star out of Central Indiana. He commits to Micah Shrewsberry. So this was big news to me for two reasons. One, Indiana did not get him, so this was like a monumental in-state recruit that the Hoosiers thought they were going to get. He goes to Notre Dame instead. Number two, I think Micah Shrewsberry is a rising star in college basketball. That's not an original opinion, but I think Micah Shrewsberry is on the verge of really breaking out as I think in the next 5 years we'll view him as a top 10 coach in college basketball, and I think this is like a pivotal moment in the Micah Shrewsberry, foray into the public consciousness of college basketball, I guess. So talk about that a little bit. Wild Pac-12 reports coming out this week. Seemingly every school that's not in the Big Ten or SEC already was rumored to go to the Pac-12. Some were reported to go to the Pac-12, and they came out and said, no, that's not happening. Gonzaga is who I'm mostly talking about there. The Mountain West signs like the remaining Mountain West schools signed like a bonding agreement that we're going to stay together. What the hell does that even mean? So conference realignment stuff, as it always is lurking under the surface of all this stuff. But practice is back, and I'm fired up about that. We don't have to talk about NIL bullshit and conference realignment bullshit as much. We can talk about the important stuff, which is, did you see that one clip of Cooper Flagg? And do you have Duke winning the national championship based off of Cooper Flagg hitting a wide open three? I think I do. I feel it in my bones. College basketball is almost here, and I'm excited to talk about it. Let's do it. All right, Tate, college basketball practice has started. Number one, I say this every year, and I will continue to say it until I die. I don't know, and at some point people are going to be like, what is this guy even talking about? But I'm going to say it. I do miss the days when practice all started. It was like a monumental thing. I miss Midnight Madness. Mm-hmm. It was a huge pain in the ass for the programs to have it. I think it was good for the programs in the sense that it drummed up interest. Mm-hmm. ESPN would televise a lot of them. They would do the bounce arounds. A guy like me, when I was like in junior high and high school, I would obsess over it because I was like, holy shit, I'm going to stay up late tonight and watch the bounce arounds. And then you get like every so often you get like a West Coast, and you're like, if you're a real sicko on the East Coast, you could like stay up super late and watch the West Coast teams start their little I guess it's practice, but it wasn't ever practice. It was just like the players come out wearing sunglasses in their jerseys.
And you would think that this would be a great time for it.
It's a great time for it, and I miss it. I do. I miss Midnight Madness, as dumb as it was, and as much as it accomplished like nothing. And honestly, like having gone, we didn't really do it when I was at Ohio State. We didn't do Midnight Madness, and I remember asking Coach Mata why we didn't do it, and he was like, "Because no one would come. It's a football school." And he's like, I think it would actually be bad for the program to try to do it, and like you cut to the shot, and there's like 3,000 people.
There,
yeah. But and then the other I don't know if excuse, the reason I guess he said we didn't do it was he was like, honestly, it's a complete fucking waste of time in terms of like practicing, because you're not actually like doing anything so I think like the coaches that he's like, all the coaches I talk to that do them are like, I would rather like get in the gym and like install some offense and like fucking work on some drills, and these guys come out and they're like just dancing for the crowd.
Well,
Tom Izzo rides out on his motorcycle. I think honest to God, like I think a lot of schools still like do it, but I'm so checked out with it. Like in the last however many years when they got rid of the midnight part and like it was all like a one-time thing for all the schools, I just completely checked out. So like there is a chance in the next couple weeks like we still get the Tom Izzo dressed like a Kiss band member, and and Bill Self wearing chains, and like fucking Snoop Dogg is somehow performing at every single Midnight Madness. And,
but they used
Drake's at Arkansas.
It used to be like a televised, hyped up, like, hey, at midnight tonight we're gonna be able to watch all the practices. What happened to it?
Yeah, and I think the real thing that I'm bummed out about, it was a great way to announce to the general public that's like not locked in on all this stuff that college basketball is around the corner. That was like the most important thing, was like, oh shit, I guess I never thought about it. I'm so locked in on college football and NFL that, oh wow, yeah, college basketball is coming around, and we don't really have that, so I guess that's what I have to do right now. Is college basketball coming around? Practice has started.
Word to the people.
Sound the alarm.
Well,
Paul Revere running through the streets.
We may no longer have the Midnight Madness on ESPN, and we do have clips though.
We do have clips.
It is practice clip season.
It is practice clip season. I know that I'm back in being a college basketball sicko, because I have been watching the Duke clips of Cooper Flagg, who I fucking love, dude. And this is going to be a problem, because I think people come to me. They don't come to me necessarily. I'm not the number one Duke hater, but
you're up there.
I think a lot of people. I would imagine most of my audience does not like Duke, and they want to rip on Duke. And I certainly, boy, we had some fun back in the day, like with Coach K shit and all that. Like I have a long history of like mocking Coach K and the Duke program, but I can't lie, dude. I'm fascinated with Cooper Flagg. I can't stop watching clips of Cooper Flagg, and I know I'm a real sicko because I texted you this. I noticed that Cooper Flagg jumps off his right leg when he dunks.
Yeah,
he has a tendency to jump off his right leg when he dunks, and I was like, what does this even mean? Is this a problem? He's a right-handed player who jumps off his right leg, and then I took a step back. I set my phone down. I took a step back, and I was like, I'm so fucking back, dude. Like I'm noticing shit and like drawing conclusions about shit that like means nothing.
I was gonna say, so if you come to this show to hear Duke hate, this is not gonna be a good year for you. Because I'm sitting yesterday on my couch, and Titus and I are texting about, how open the Big Ten is, and did you see the Diebler and all of a sudden and one other thing that's extremely important to me.
Yeah, it's extremely important.
He goes, have you noticed what foot Cooper Flagg jumps off of when he dunks?
I think it's a good thing. I think I did find one. Again, this is how I know I got it bad. I then, once I noticed every clip that Duke puts out where Cooper Flagg dunks or attacks the rim, I noticed he's jumping off his right foot. Or he's jumping off of 2 feet. Like if he's going up, if he's going up in a situation where it should be his left foot, he tends to just, collect with both feet and then jump up. Or if it's like a full sprint type thing on a breakout, he'll jump off his right foot and dunk. And I got concerned because I was like, I think like he's not getting as high. Does this mean he's like actually left-handed? And I'm getting in my head like
you're concerned.
My old guy Kevin O'Connor like says that about Ben Simmons all the time. Like he shoots with the wrong hand, and I was like, oh fuck, dude, is Cooper Flagg like, is this a problem? But so then I like went through all sorts of old clips, and I started like going through like high school clips. I was on YouTube all night last night just looking up Cooper Flagg highlights, and thankfully I did find clips of him jumping off his left foot.
So he can.
Oh. And then I got excited, and I was like, oh my god, dude, he could jump off of either foot.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg might be legit.
He could jump off
upon further review. He does. Listen, here's my question. Are they hyping him up with strategically releasing their clips, or is he really that dude? Because every clip that Duke is releasing, he's picking off something, he's getting to the rack, he's dunking on someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's really going to be that dude. I think, like, I mean, again, this is like not breaking news, and this is not like, you know, I'm not the first guy to point this out. They will be as good as he is, and if Cooper Flagg is as good as advertised, Duke feels like a team that's like hiding in plain sight almost. That for being Duke, and having like the number one, like you would think that like Duke would have like maybe not number one preseason buzz, but there would be more buzz, and there's not, and it's one, John Shire is not a guy who's fully trusted in the way Coach K was. Two, like the roster turnover, and the guys they're bringing back aren't like Tyrese Proctor and Caleb Foster, like aren't like popping off the screen at you. But I think they got some dudes, and I think Mason Gillis is a huge pickup for them. And like, I don't know, I don't necessarily think I can't sit here right now and say I think they're national title good, but you know, if Cooper Flagg is that dude, if Cooper Flagg has like a Zion Williamson type breakout, yeah, I mean, like, of course, like Duke is going to be in the mix. Well,
and Lunardi does have them as a 1 seed right now. So
does he really?
Yeah, it's not like they're just completely off.
Oh no, shit.
He's got him 1 seed, but I will say
that's crazy. I mean, like, I don't think it's crazy, but I think that's not consensus. I would say most people have Duke like the next tier, like in the, like they'll start top 10, but I don't. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. The
like
talk
it's
of the
Kansas,
town,
Bama, UConn,
Houston.
Like those are the ones that have the buzz, and I think Duke's like on that next tier with Carolina too. Carolina, like those, both of the. It is interesting, and I think maybe it speaks to who the coaches are now, because Carolina brings back the best returning player in college basketball will be playing for North Carolina this year, R.J. Davis. And to say that out loud and then say, but if you think North Carolina is the best team in the country going into the season, you're a bozo. That just feels weird, and I don't think it's wrong. It's just like if this was 10 years ago, and Roy Williams was the coach, and Roy Williams was bringing back the best player in college basketball, you'd be like, I don't know, man. Is Carolina? But Carolina.
You are right though, Titus. I'm looking at ESPN's top 10, and Duke is 8. And Carolina's 10. So you're right. It's not like
I think they're like a tier below, and I find that I just find that fascinating because those are two programs obviously that like always get the benefit of that, always get the blue blood. Like, you know, when in doubt, just fuck it, let's put them in the top 5 and let it ride.
So Titus and Lunardi might be early to the scene on Duke.
Yeah, really.
This Duke team.
this Cooper Flagg guy might be good, but I think that's what it is. I mean, we talked about it with Rutgers. But I think there's been like a shift with the preseason expectations of freshmen, and I think like I don't know when it happened, but I think that's what's going on. Is I think that like there was a time not too long ago where if you had a guy like a Cooper Flagg, a guy like an Ace Bailey, a guy like a Dylan Harper on your roster who are going to be top 5 picks in the next draft, it was like, fuck, dude, that's a top 10 team. Like that's a top 5 team. Like this is insane amount of talent to have. But I feel like now in 2024, the freshmen have been, I don't want to say disrespected, because I don't know if it's like it's just been like a shift in how you perceive teams going into the preseason. I think the transfer pickups are the bigger deal. I mean, the teams that hit the portal are like the teams that have all the buzz.
At the end of the day, the freshmen are still somewhat unknown because they've never played a college basketball game. And when you've got teams picking up, 20-point per game scores out of the portal to bring them to your roster, you know what those people are able to do.
Yeah, and this Rutgers team is not as deep in terms of like their recruiting class that your typical John Calipari Kentucky team was. But that was just what we kind of got used to, was like if you had the number 1 recruiting class, you were going to be a top 5 team to start the season. That's just kind of how it worked. And I don't know, it's shifted now. So I do think that I find that interesting because I think this freshman class is going to be awesome, but I think the teams that are going to be reliant on, when you look around the country at the teams that are going to rely heavily on the freshmen, I think there's skepticism about how good they're going to be. And that's interesting to me because, again, it wasn't that long ago where – good, bad, or otherwise, maybe it's because like we've learned some lessons, and there are some teams where we're like, oh, dude, they're gonna have a ton of talent. They're national title good, and then you realize, oh shit, why did I think that team that, their 2 best players are freshmen? Why did I think that they were going to be able to compete at this level for 40 games and actually have a good team. So maybe we've learned some lessons along the way. But yeah, it just highlights the shift in thinking going into the preseason. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by DraftKings. TD, Tutty, taking it to the house, in for 6. Whatever you call a touchdown, one thing is for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, from the special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown or how many TDs will be in a game. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TITUS, that's code TITUS, T-I-T-U-S, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. One of the preseason things that I'm locked in on right now, and I texted you this last night, and I want to put it on everyone's radar. And I think it's going to be fascinating as the season goes on, but I'm also like worried that it's going to become irrelevant, and it just really bothers me. The Big Ten conference as a whole, I think the Big Ten, this is going to be a rough year for the Big Ten because there are going to be a lot of good teams.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament. It would not surprise me if the Big Ten gets the most bids to the NCAA tournament. The Big Ten has, as it stands right now, I do not think the Big Ten has like really any shot whatsoever producing a national champion. And that the reason it's going to be a bad year is because the fight that's going to go on in March, I'm already like sharpening my sword for the Big Ten haters are going to be like, why the fuck did this conference get 11 bids? No. And like the top bid is going to be like Purdue or IU are going to be like a 3 or a 4 seed probably. That's going to be like the best team in the conference. And I don't know, I'm fascinated. I'm a Big Ten guy, as you are as well. Right. I'm fascinated in how wide open the race is. But my worry, Tate, is that Big Ten basketball is going to be kind of what Big 12 football feels like right now, where it's like it's deep. There are a lot of good teams. There are a lot of ranked teams. But does the national landscape actually care? Are people who are locked in on college football really like looking at the Big 12 saying, yeah, I think there's like 3 national title contenders in the Big 12? I don't think they are.
My stance is I couldn't be more excited for Big Ten conference play this year.
Yeah.
Because we've got a new coach at Michigan who everyone's really excited about what they brought in. We've got a new coach at Ohio State. Everyone's excited about the energy. Indiana might be the most talented team. Rutgers has the best, recruiting class. Purdue's the defending champion and returns 3 starters. They just don't have the 2-time National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
We bring in 4 new teams and big names. UCLA might be the deepest team and come in their first year and win the thing.
With Musselman out
at USC. So it's like, I don't know. You kind of dampen my spirits a little bit.
No, I'm not. I've been at this game for a while and I know it's coming. So. The way it goes well for the Big Ten, it's going to be a huge non-conference season. Like we as a conference, I'm speaking on behalf of the entire conference now. We have to have good showings at like Michigan State's going to Maui Invitational, and it's a loaded field. And if Michigan State can steal a couple and like make some like that's huge.
Let's do it, Tom.
That's huge. We have to do that because I don't know. I'm just like worried about. I'm starting to dive into the literature. I'm starting to look at it. The Big Ten landscape right now to me is that I think it is wide open. I think there are a handful of teams that Rutgers should feel like if you're at Rutgers practice, you should feel like you can win the conference. Now, we talked about Blue Ribbon has the 15th in the conference, but again, that speaks to just how much parity I think is going to be in this league. But Rutgers should feel like they could win it. I think Ohio State should feel like they can win it. I like if the Buckeyes don't win it, I'm not going to look at Jake Diebler and be like, how did you fuck that up? Mm-hmm. But like, I think there's a lot of optimism around Columbus, especially again as you look around the rest of the league and there's no juggernaut. You're like, why not us? There's a lot of why not us. But I think as it stands right now, there are 2 teams. They're both in the state of Indiana that feel like they should be the favorites. It is Purdue and Indiana. Purdue has. Indiana has the roster. Indiana has the higher ceiling, I would say. I would say Indiana It's funny because I think Indiana basketball and Ohio State football are similar in that they watch their rivals ascend to heights they never thought they would see their rivals ascend to, and then the bagmen like crack their knuckles and we're like, well, fuck that, we can't have that, and so they got busy real quick.
Yeah, they see the other team have a little success.
They're like, what the fuck is it? Like, yeah,
we can fix that.
Yeah, the Hoosiers bagmen were like, Purdue in the national. What the fuck is this? We got to fix this right now. So Indiana went out and killed it in the portal, won the offseason in a lot of ways. Still a lot of questions of how these guys are going to mesh together. Mike Woodson loves playing, like, if he could play 8 big men together, I feel like he would do it. What is that going to look like? Do they have guys that can hit shots? There are a lot of questions around Indiana, but I will say, like, if you look at their roster and the talent they have, I think they have the highest ceiling in terms of, if it all comes together as it should, Indiana to me feels like the only team as I sit here right now that I could actually see maybe, and I can't. I'm gonna, before I say what I'm gonna say, I want to make it clear I do not think they're gonna win the national championship.
Okay.
But if you told me there's one team that has like a chance or a potential from the Big Ten, I feel like Indiana has the highest ceiling.
Okay.
Because of what their roster is. I don't expect it to actually work that way, but that's why there's optimism in Bloomington. Now in West Lafayette, it's sort of the opposite, where it's like we don't have the flashy portal signings. We don't have, but what we have is the coach. We have the culture. We have the guys who have done it before. We have. There are question marks, sure, because you don't have Zach Edey anymore. But there's not questions as to will these guys play well together? Will these guys buy in? All that sort of stuff. There's really no questions of that. It's just more of a question of like, how much talent do they really have? And it's really like for me, it's how good is Braden Smith, who was one of the best point guards in the country last year. But, you know, if you were trying to poke holes on how good he is, you would say it helps when you have Zach Edey running a pick and roll, and then he's rolling to the basket with his arms up and just swallowing up every defender. Right. And Braden Smith has all the room in the world to make plays. What's that going to look like now? I think he's still really fucking good. It's just like that would be the question with Purdue. But, the point is, like, those are the two teams that I think are on the top tier, and there are still a lot of questions around both of them. And then I look at the rest of the landscape of the Big Ten, and I was like, I don't know, dude. I think it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a wide open race, but I'm already pre-mad at all the people that are like, why did the Big Ten get 11 bids?
Well, what's gonna win the Big Ten this year? Like 4, 5, 6 losses.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a battle of attrition. We're gonna get in. I mean, Lenardi, I think he have 9 teams in the preseason bracketology from the Big Ten. Yeah. And our best seed is a 4 seed.
Yeah, I know.
3 seed.
But the other thing that's got me fired up is I think the SEC is gonna have a lot of good teams. And like I don't want to live in a world where the SEC is better than the Big Ten at basketball.
Yeah,
dude,
we can't have that.
But that's why like games like Ohio State playing Auburn, that's massive. That like games like that, and people don't really think about it at the time, but those games at the time when you're like just sort of feeling out your teams and it's non-conference and you know, you can have like a competitive game and lose and you're like, that's all right, we'll build on this, there's a lot of season left, all that sort of thing. Those become huge games for conferences and for when you're applying like tiebreakers almost to the bubble and shit like that. And that's why I don't think the Big Ten does have the firepower, so the non-conference is going to be huge for
Purdue's non-conference this year. There's some stat out there where like Purdue hasn't lost a non-conference game in a certain amount of years. Their non-conference this year: Alabama, at Marquette, Texas A&M, Auburn.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out by December 21st when they play Auburn. Right. Are they legit? Is the Big Ten going to be legit? Right. Hey, let's go in and let's beat Bama on November 1st. for the conference.
For the conference, yeah, dude. That's standing out to me so far as like just as I'm thinking through the season, I was like, damn, dude, the Big Ten's going to be it's going to be fun, but it's not going to be. I don't know. I hope it's competitive. I hope that as we're doing these shows, I can talk about the Big Ten. Is what I'm saying. Because I do.
Oh, it'll give you.
I do want to talk about what's relevant nationally, and I'm worried that the Big Ten is just going to be like a bunch of B+ teams fighting for like being ranked 15th in the AP poll, like you know, just handing the 15th ranking back and forth to each other, and I feel like that's what's going to be.
One thing with the Big Ten too that I'm not concerned about, but I don't like. We have so many damn teams in the conference this year.
Yeah.
That there's gonna be teams that benefit from the luck of the draw schedule-wise. Like Purdue only has to play UCLA once. Purdue plays Ohio State once, but Purdue plays Michigan twice. And there's going to be different things where you're going to –
Oh, dude, that's been a thing already. Like if you talk to my dad, he'd be like, I don't give a shit about the Big Ten regular season anymore for the last 10 years or so. Because like the second the imbalance –
once and twice.
Yeah. The second imbalanced scheduling got introduced, old head Coach Titus threw up his hands and was like, well, this
dumb.
This doesn't mean anything if you're not playing the –
Has he seen the transfer portal? Has he seen NIL? He's got to be up in arms.
I don't know. The Hoosiers might be good though, so now he's back. He's back in. Dan Hurley video is making its rounds.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
So the problem with the Dan Hurley video is whoever got to make that caption, like the one that has gone viral, the caption on the screen is, "This is the first coach to ever make basketball players quit basketball."
Not even close to the first coach.
Like, is that person that made the video? Are you being sarcastic?
Are you? Hey, guy who made that video, are you fucking kidding me?
because you are out there. If you were being serious, I need you to understand that one, Dan Hurley knew he was on camera. He knew he was mic'd up. There are high school coaches out there that give kids the business more than what Dan Hurley is doing.
I'm thinking about like my junior high coaches, I think, were worse. But I grew up in Indiana with a bunch of Bob Knight wannabes.
Yeah,
so like
just chairs flying everywhere.
I had a lot of coaches that were
Coach, it's tryouts. Why'd you just throw a chair across?
My father included, just like. But no, it's a good litmus test for like people that have played basketball and haven't, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you watch that video and you're like, oh my God,
damn,
he's yelling at him.
I loved what he was saying though.
Yeah,
like the way he says it. Fucking soft ass. Fucking soft ass. Stairs. Everybody.
Just points and says stairs. My question is this: do you think if Dan Hurley? The answer is yes. The answer is obvious yes. I haven't even asked the question yet. Do you think Dan Hurley, a video like that is viewed differently if Dan Hurley like lost in the second round the last couple of years instead of won 2 national?
Yeah, winning.
The answer is obviously yes.
Winning cures
everything. Yeah, when you win, everyone's like, "Damn, that's a coach who gets it." When you don't win, you're like, "This fucking asshole."
I counter your obvious question with a different question. Then, does this help? Like this video getting out there because he's won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Does this make kids want to play for him? Or because in today's like NIL transfer portal world, you have to recruit your own dudes every single day. He's out here yelling at these players that just got here that he just, sat in their living rooms and said, "Come here," and he said, "You haven't done shit at my school yet."
Yeah,
like don't do take off the fucking uniform.
Yeah, I think it helps. I think if you're a Dan Hurley, if you're a Matt Painter, if you're a Tom Izzo, if you're like some of these coaches that haven't necessarily, I don't know, I feel like I don't know how to say it because they do take transfers, They have adapted to the modern era, but they also are like old school coaches that are like culture people. I think you have to trust that the people that will fit your culture will find their way to you. Mm-hmm. And ultimately you have to have an attitude of like, if the top 10 recruits in the country all see this video of me coaching and say, that guy seems like an asshole, well, fuck them. I don't want them playing for me anyway.
That's a good point.
And you have to trust that like, I'll get guys that watch this and get fired up. I'll plug them into my system, and we will win ball games. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes those guys successful. That's my. No,
I like that. I would want my kid to be coached by someone like this. However, this is not how your traditional like top of the line AAU. Everything's all about me, stat driven like recruit is these days. So it takes a certain type of person to be able to play for that. Yeah,
you remember a couple of years ago, like when Izzo would. It was like during the season there would be. A couple clips of who were the players. I should remember who they were. There was one that was at Purdue where he was like walking into the tunnel like motherfucking a guy at halftime, I think. And then there's another one in the huddle where he was like screaming and his own players had to like pull him back from yelling at another player. And oh my God, it was like the talk of college basketball for like a whole week.
It took over.
Like, it was like all they wanted to talk about was like, has Tom Izzo gone too far? Is he abusing
as time passed him by?
And then all the guys that played for him were like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about, dude? He's awesome. What like that's called coaching." And I don't know, that's that's something that's subsided. I think Dan Hurley is helping with. You win 2 national titles, and you're a guy like Dan Hurley who's like respected and well.
Do you think he's feeling himself in this type of situation? Like, this is obviously how he coaches, but also when you've won 2 in a row and your name's out there for the Lakers job. Yeah, is he now? He's invincible.
He's definitely feeling himself. Yeah, he's definitely feeling himself. He's always been cocky. But I think yeah, because like the clip of him before they won the national title when he lost, he's like, "You better get us now."
He was already.
He's kind of always had that demeanor. It only comes across as him feeling himself because they won. I think he's been consistent. It's just now the success has followed and propped him up and put him in a spotlight where you might feel some type of way when you see Dan Hurley, in a press conference or in a practice. But I think he's just kind of been the same guy. He's just now winning at a level that he wasn't necessarily
winning determines your reputation with how that is. Like, if you are losing and Dan Hurley's acting like this, there's people out there being like, what an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not good with kids, whatever.
Exactly.
Now, you see this clip. I don't know anyone that knows ball, like is actually involved in basketball that's like, oh, man, he's being real tough.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Do you think were you a coach like that? Do you think you could I know you were coaching girls.
I was coaching high school girls.
So it was different. But do you think you have it in you if you were coaching college basketball to motherfuck guys like that?
Yeah, I do. I think you've seen Tate as someone who likes to joke and mess around or whatever it is. I wish you guys could see what I was like on the sideline. I would get after it a little bit.
How many times did you point to the 15-year-old girls you were coaching and say, "Stairs"? What the fuck? Soft ass.
You haven't won shit here, Callie. Fuck.
You haven't won shit here. I don't think I could do it. I think I come across as a dickhead because I'm sarcastic and I have like a resting bitch face. And I do, and I understand.
Are you a yeller?
Cody said that to me one time where he was doing thumbnails for the show, and the thumbnail was like me scowling, and I was like, Cody, you couldn't pull a better thumbnail, and he's like, you didn't smile the entire show.
Shit.
And I was like, I just did an hour, and I was having the time of my life, and in my head I'm laughing. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't smile, and he's like, no bro, you got resting bitch face. But the reality is, like, if I was a coach, I would be just the biggest pusher. I would not be. I couldn't do it. Like, I'm a guy who like respects it. I watch clips of that, and I'm like, that's a fucking ball coach. And when I played, I didn't. I would respond well to that type of coaching if I respected the coach. It was the coaches that were like I could tell they were bozos and they were just trying to be hard asses. That I would just shut down, and I was like, "Fuck you, dude! Fuck, what are you doing?" But if I felt like a coach was like, if I played for Dan Hurley, I'd be like, "Yes, sir." No, like I would lie. If I think I could have played for Bob Knight, is what I'm saying. 'Cause I would have respected the fuck out of him and like locked in. It was that when if it was a coach that I felt like didn't know what he was doing, I had no respect for him, and he was just like putting on a front.
Right. 100%.
I hated it. But all that's to say, like, I do respect that type of coach, and I think it works. I would like to think that I would coach that way. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it.
And I think it gets harder.
Too big of a pussy.
Well, the higher level you get to, I think it becomes substantially harder. Okay, hypothetical, Dan Hurley takes the Lakers job. I know this is 17 shows ago. Is that what Dan Hurley's practice looks like? If LeBron James,
yeah.
Hey, LeBron, you haven't won a title in 4 fucking years. Yeah. Stairs now.
No, I mean that was a fair
Anthony Davis.
That was a fair concern when he was being floated as the Lakers coach. I was like, I mean, I don't think he's gonna be able to do. I don't think he's gonna be able to use the same style that he's used it.
And that's why he's in the perfect spot.
He's in the perfect spot.
Good decision,
dude.
Danny.
Speaking of clips, our guy Jake. Did you see him hopping in drills?
Are we still calling him Jake? The way Columbus reacted to him being in one closeout drill.
Yeah,
I thought we had John Wooden on side.
I know. It was great. But I'm fired up for him. I love Jake. He's a big time energy guy, and there's buzz in Columbus. I gotta be careful though, because you're a Buckeye, I'm a Buckeye. I'm trying to do like I want to be. It's hard because I everybody who watches the show and listens to the show, I don't hide my alma mater, my allegiances, but at the same time, I do fucking love the sport of college basketball. In the last few years, Ohio State has been irrelevant. I'm like, I'm not really going to talk about it. And then, Holtman gets to a point where he's about to get fired, or should he be fired, is a discussion point, all that. And I'm like, okay, so now that's sort of relevant, so maybe I'll talk about it now. There are a lot of people listening and watching right now, they're going to roll their eyes when they hear me say this, but I try to not talk about Ohio State too terribly much. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that want me to, because when shit's going bad, when a 500 Ohio State team loses at the buzzer, they still want to see me cry and stuff. So it's like I want to talk about it. But all that is the preamble to say that it's going to be tough this year, dude. It's going to be tough because there is optimism, and I got another Buckeye sitting across from me, and I'm fired up for Jake Diebler. And yeah, one clip for those who missed it, which is everybody that doesn't live in Columbus, Ohio.
You don't follow 11 Warriors.
There was just one clip of Jake Diebler. The first practice, Jake just like hopped in a drill and was like. They were doing a closeout drill, and he was just like trying to drive past his own players. And oh my God, every like Ohio State basketball fan was like creaming their pants, just like look at the energy, at the energy in practice.
Well, take a step. I agree. First of all, I do think you do a great job balancing the Buck, because we can talk for Buckeyes 2 hours if you guys want us to.
Yeah.
My question is this: is that really as outrageous and rare as Ohio State fans made it to be? Like I know I've coached where you have to do that. You've played where you've got student managers and everything. Guys, he was catching a ball and taking 2 dribbles and skipping it back.
Yeah, no, it was nothing. But it was nothing. But it's also, I don't want to pour water on the hype around Ohio.
Okay.
In any flames that are building for Ohio State basketball, I'm fanning those flames. I'm pouring gasoline on them too. So like I love the enthusiasm. But yes, if we're being complete, if this was I don't know, name another school. If this was fucking Texas and Rodney Terry
takes 2 dribbles
and then Texas fans lost their mind, I would definitely be clowning them.
here's what I want from you.
I would definitely be like, what are we losing our mind about?
Put a stamp on it, Diebler. Have you seen like when the ball is on the floor in Ohio State's practices now, like they all dive on it and they keep playing?
Yeah.
Diebler, I want you on the floor. Next week this time, if you've been on the floor, it's legit.
Mata used to do that until he had back surgery and fucked up his foot.
He used to dive on the floor?
Yeah, he used to dive on the floor. But he would do it like in comedic ways where
I was going to say.
He I remember one I vividly remember one practice where he was like sitting at half court, and we're playing obviously on like the ball's over here, we're running offense, and then a guy like throws a skip pass from the corner to like the wing, but he sails it. And it like it goes out of bounds, but it's like headed towards Coach Mata, and he just like gets out of his chair and dives to save it, and just slaps it back in. It was like one of those deals, like where he would do shit like that all the time, and then he didn't. But speaking of him, by the way, he would and going back to the Dan Hurley thing, he would always, I think I've said this on the show a handful of times, he would always like fake anger, and it was like the funniest shit ever.
Did
he was like such a player's coach, but like when he would get fired up. And I would see it because like I would always be just like sitting off on the sideline and not really in practice. Mm-hmm. And he would like turn to a manager and he'd say like, go get me a ball. And then the manager would go get him a ball. And then like 2 minutes later, he'd blow the whistle and drop kick the ball and be like, you motherfuckers are
So he sets the whole thing up.
It would crack me up.
Hey, take my clipboard and saw it a little bit so I can snap this thing. Yeah.
Shit would crack me up. I want to pivot away from practice starting, but I am fired up. I mean, the juices are flowing. We still have about 6 weeks until games start. Baylor Gonzaga, as a reminder, opening night. We need a better way to hold on. Let me check to see if they've updated them yet. Yeah, exactly. We need to consolidate the schedules better.
Yeah, I
need a better way. Like the Score app is what I use to follow all the sports, you know, and find the schedule. I feel like they don't put the like schedules out until.
Well, they're all changing and getting released as we speak. We need, you know how like Saturday.
But there's no way for me to know like the first Friday. I mean, there probably is, but I'm too fucking lazy to go through everyone's schedule and figure out. There's no way for me to right now to like go figure out what's that first Friday or that first Saturday of the season look like. What does that opening night look like? I know we got Gonzaga and Baylor. What else is going on that night? I have to like just go through everyone's schedule. I have to like scroll through tweets and like figure out. I need these schedule people to like. I need the fucking Score app to like put together give me the slate. I need the slate.
ESPN might have a little.
ESPN, give me the slate.
Yeah.
Anyway, pivoting away from that, I want to talk about Derrick Rose for a little bit. Derrick Rose announced his retirement officially from the game of basketball. Not a huge surprise. He's been banged up. He's been, I think was he on the Timberwolves? He was that the last team he played for? The Grizzlies? He was bouncing around. The fact that I can't even remember
he played.
Probably speaks to
the last team he played for was the Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies, right? Yeah, he went to he was on
Bulls,
the Grizzlies.
Knicks, Cavs, Timberwolves.
Yeah, he was
Pistons,
bouncing
Knicks,
around.
Grizzlies.
He was back on the Knicks. He like got some run on the Knicks with Thibodeau, and that was fun for a while. But yeah, so it wasn't exactly a shock. He obviously had the injuries, and the knees kind of let him down, and he hung on for as long as he could, and then he finally retired. My Derrick Rose thoughts are this. Number one, he's remembered almost unfairly his college basketball season. It's hard because it feels unfair, but it's like also, I mean, the guy had someone take his SAT for him, and then they vacated the whole season, and it's like, do I care about that? No. Is that a blatant breaking of like very easy, like we talked about this with the Penny Hardaway shit that bubbled up, where it's like, I'm not clutching my pearls saying like this is an egregious offense and like how dare you sully the great institution of the University of Memphis by not taking your academics seriously. I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like it's so easy to just like skirt it's so easy to put your thumb on the scale was what I always say about this stuff. It's so easy to just kind of tweak things here and there. So to like blatantly,
that was always, I love the story. Like he had someone else take his SAT. Mm-hmm. My question always was, it's the exact same thing with Hardaway. Did you really need to go to that extent to get Derrick Rose into your school? There was
a way, yeah, and maybe you did. You did. In which case, I guess I'm doing what I didn't want to do, which is I brought that up, and I was going to bring up missing the free throw in the 2008 national championship to say that's what he is sort of remembered for, and that to me sucks because that season at Memphis he was so fucking good, and that tournament run he was unreal. And as a reminder, the Final Four game against UCLA, I remember losing my mind about this. Mm-hmm. I remember this was sort of a you can't unsee it moment for me with Ben Howland at UCLA, where he had gone to the 06 Final Four, he'd gone to the 07 Final Four, now he's in the 08 Final Four, right? This was the Ben Howland run. Florida won the back-to-back national titles in 06 and 07, and it sort of overshadowed that UCLA was also there in both of those. And then in 08, Florida's guys all leave. It's a new, like the 08 Final Four is fucking stacked, as we remember. It was all the one seeds, but it sort of felt like if this could be UCLA's time. I don't think they were never the favorite. I don't like Kansas and
but after being there twice, you have the experience and you have the
Kansas and Carolina were, I think, better teams than them. But yeah, like you said, yeah, you've been there twice. It's like this is the now or never sort of moment. And you're going up against a Memphis team that has a freshman who Derrick Rose was awesome, and I think at this point in the season, at this point in the NCAA tournament run, it was pretty clear he was going to be the number one pick. But he was not. I mean, you're seeing it now where people are looking back on like the 07 draft or the 07 high school class and stuff. He was not like the top recruit. He was thought of as like really good, but he was a guy that couldn't shoot. He was a guy that like he was really explosive, and it was like sort of if you could scheme a way to like keep him in front of you, which is easier said than done, obviously. But he was like he wasn't their best player on Memphis. He like Chris Douglas Roberts was his best player. So you're going into this game thinking you have Chris Douglas Roberts, who was he ended up playing in the league a little bit, but he was not an NBA like a bona fide guy. When you looked at Chris Douglas Roberts, you weren't like that's a lottery pick. You had Joey Dorsey, who ended up playing in the league, but same thing. Like he wasn't popping up at the top of mock drafts. Mm-hmm. And then you had Derrick Rose, who was he was going to be the number one pick, but he was a freshman, and again his game was limited in some ways. On the other side, UCLA had Kevin Love, who again was a freshman. So if we're going to do the freshman thing with Derrick Rose, we have to be fair and do it to Kevin Love. Russell Westbrook, Darren Collison, Mbah Moute, They were fucking and Josh Shipp, who I don't think ever played a second in the league, but was an unreal college basketball player. And that was UCLA's team. They were fucking stacked, dude. And they go in. That UCLA team goes into the Memphis game against Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose eats them alive. Just fucking dominates. Collison fouls out, if I remember correctly. Westbrook couldn't keep him in front of him either. Derrick Rose, like on a floor with future NBA players, Derrick Rose stood out. He was so explosive, and they blew him out. Memphis blew out UCLA, and going back to what I said about Howland, like that was a thing that I couldn't unsee. Where I was like, Ben Howland had a loaded roster in a now or never type spot for UCLA. He was on the better side of the bracket where like Carolina, like going to that Final Four, Carolina, Kansas was like the two heavyweights. And then you just play this lowly Memphis. Like Memphis was good, don't get me wrong, but Memphis is out of Conference USA. Like I already said with like their roster, where it's like, you know, they're good players but not great, and they'd only lost one game all year. So I'm not saying like Memphis is like, you know, fucking hickory high here going into this game, but UCLA was in a great position. Memphis destroyed them, and they destroyed him because Derrick Rose, and he was great that entire season, but like he turned it on in the tournament run. And I don't know. It's like when you think back on his year at Memphis, I think the first two bullet points are miss the free throw, SAT.
It is.
And I think people do literally forget how good he actually was, which is crazy because he was the number one pick, and then he becomes the youngest MVP and all that. And it's like, you know, a lot of people are listening to this and they're like, who would possibly forget? And I'm here to tell you, like, I do think people do actually forget that at Memphis, Derrick Rose was not a he has potential guy is what I'm saying. Because there are a lot of one and done guys where it's like he showed flashes in school, and then once he got to the NBA, he blossomed. He was awesome in Memphis. He was fucking awesome.
I'm sitting over here trying to find the spread of that. I got the box score up of Memphis UCLA. That UCLA roster, like you just said, unbelievable. Memphis cleaned their clocks that night. Derrick Rose,
they won by 15?
Yeah, they won 78
20?
63. You're right. Collison fouled out. Kevin Love had 12 points. Meanwhile, Derrick Rose over here playing 37 minutes, 25 and 9 and 4.
Yeah,
best player.
He was the best player on the floor. Yeah, with
and
a
then,
bunch of
went to the title.
And went to the title
and had it.
And they did have it.
And
that sucked. I mean, that does suck. You probably it sucked because I mean, I didn't. I'll be honest. Like when it happened, like I didn't care because John Calipari was, you know, it was funny, and it was funny too because Cal, as he usually does, his own hubris gets the best of him, and all season everyone is like, Memphis' free throw shooting's dog shit. This is gonna come back to bite them. They need to figure this out. And Cal was just kind of like, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
we'll be fine. And then it literally is the reason they lose the title game. But Derrick Rose was awesome in college. That's the one point I want to make as I look back on him. But the more important point, and I guess if it was the more important point, why did I not start with it? Great question, Mark. I don't know. As is tradition, we're
going chronological.
You say the not important point first, and then you follow it up with the most important point. I think Derrick Rose, and I said this at the top. To me, and I'm an idiot, and I'm not like plugged into grassroots basketball like I used to be. Obviously, the older I get, the less I pay attention to the shit. But Derrick Rose had like a buzz about him, an aura about him is the word the kids use. Just on the AAU circuit and in the streets of Chicago, and I didn't grow up in Chicago, but it was still something I like knew and felt and was aware of how important he was to this city. That I don't think as he retired, and I saw like the way that people in Chicago reacted to it, and the Bulls were putting out things, and you know, people are reminiscing about what he meant, like both to the Bulls teams, but then like his high school career and all that sort of stuff. It kind of dawned on me that I do think that era of basketball player is probably gone. Like I think like a guy like that, who a city rallies around is probably gone. And I only say that because the rise of the basketball type academies, like if you get like a dude coming out of New York City, like a Stephon Marbury coming out of a New York City, Sebastian Telfair, like they're going to. The second we realize how good they are, they're going to get the hell out of that city and go play for Montverde or like Oak Hill or whatever else. and then there's not like quite the tie. But for Derrick Rose to be going to a public high school, I think Simeon's look that up.
They won the
public
Chicago
high school, right?
Public League. They
Right. I thought I had that right. Yeah. Simeon is he's from Chicago. He's going to his public high school. He's representing his city, and then as luck would have it, he gets drafted to his city's team. But beyond that, like it wasn't even just like a Chicago thing. Like I was on the greatest AAU team that's ever been assembled. We dominated every single game we played. Basically, we only lost like a handful of games, and I think when we were at full strength, we lost like 2 or 3 games, and that was it. We were fucking unbelievable. We Greg and Mike and Daquan and Eric Gordon and Josh McRoberts and like all the fucking talent we had when we would go play in like a Las Vegas. Every gym that we would go to, you would just have like a crowd of people. Like if you would go to like one of those complexes that had like a handful of gyms around, like people would be over here, and then like we would walk in the gym, be playing on this court, and you just see like the mass of people just like
empty,
go over here,
whole crowd.
And I'm saying that to say, Tate, that even with like our team doing all of that and like having experienced that and having like a front row seat to like, holy shit, we're packing all of these arenas for an AAU thing. Derrick Rose was like a singular guy who had the same influence where you could like I remember tournaments where like by the time we were seniors, there would be situations where like Derrick Rose might be playing like over here, and not that the crowd would like move over there, but like it would just sort of like there'd be buzz about Derrick Rose, and I remember being like, we're dominating every he wouldn't even be in the same, I don't know how to say it, like he wasn't in the same division as us, but there was just like murmurs of like, yeah, but this next guy up is like.
So you never played Derrick Rose in AAU?
I never played Derrick Rose, but what I'm saying is like I was by virtue of being on what I believe the best AAU team of all time. I feel like I was in the grassroots scene of basketball to where you could feel the buzz around shit. And Derrick Rose, and I guess the point I'm making is Derrick Rose, the recruiting rankings would have him like 3rd, 5th, whatever. And they had that because he wasn't the greatest shooter. And that was pretty much the number one thing was like he's a guard that can't really shoot. We know how explosive he is, and he can dunk on people and can get to the rim when he wants, but like what if you leave him wide open from 3? Can he hit threes? But even though he wasn't the number 1 recruit, there was like a buzz around him that was crazy, and I don't know, and I think like that mixed with like the love that the city had for him and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, that was like something that I reflected on, was just sort of like, is he like the last of his kind where he is definitely a guy that like. Yeah, like he everyone saw him win MVP, and of course we remember his NBA career as short-lived as it was in terms of like his peak, but he's still like a guy that people are like, dude, you had to be there type thing. Like if you were there on the high school scene and you're like, my God, Derrick Rose was
Twitter showed that
fucking real.
On his retirement announcement, you would have thought, I mean, it just seems like he mattered so much to so many people, especially obviously the people of Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest recollection of him was, so obviously I grew up in Cleveland. I was a LeBron fan. LeBron's from Ohio. He goes to Cleveland. Derrick Rose from Chicago. He goes to the Bulls.
Yeah.
There were those 2 or 3 years there where like Derrick Rose would lead the Bulls to the best record in the NBA.
Yeah.
But we had LeBron. They had their hometown kid. We had our hometown kid.
Right.
We used to throw, that would be like my end of my high school years, like the biggest like watch parties to watch Derrick Rose versus the Cavs, Derrick Rose versus the Heat. When you look back on his career, he was only a 3-time All-Star.
Yeah, I know. It sucks.
It was so
fast.
Quick.
He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any doubt about it for me.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Everyone points out like what you just said. He's only 3-time All-Star, and his career fell off a cliff because his knees let him down. But I don't know how you can. First of all, like just as a blanket statement, I don't know how you can win MVP of a league and not be in their Hall of Fame. Like to have an entire year. There was an entire year where you were the best basketball. You were now. I guess it becomes semantics because some would look back on his MVP and be like, "Well, he wasn't the best player. He was just, he was on a good team and like had, he was. You know how the MVP discussions get, whatever.
Yeah, LeBron won that.
But by virtue of being given the MVP trophy, that is supposed to signify you are in fact the best player in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you can be the best player in the world at a sport. And the Hall of Fame, a fucking Hall of Fame is like. yeah, you know what? We can actually tell the story of our sport without you. You can't. You can't really. Brandon said that on Mostly Sports, and I agree with him. If someone wrote a book about the last 20 years of basketball, Derrick Rose was not mentioned, I would throw that book in the garbage immediately.
That's a good point.
I'd be like, this is an irrelevant book. You left out a very important part of basketball history.
And Titus, don't forget, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the end. It's the basketball. And so, I mean, he was Illinois Mr. Basketball. I think he's the only person to take a public school in Chicago back-to-back state titles. Goes to the national championship, first overall pick. Instantly goes from Rookie of the Year to MVP in like 2-3 years.
Yeah,
dude's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he is too. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by Jack Black. Jack Black just came out with 4 new scents of their #1 deodorant, Pit Boss, which I hold in my hand right now. I also am holding it. Maybe it's TMI, maybe it's not. I'm holding it in my armpits. I wear Jack Black. It smells great. It works great. It is unbelievable. Their deodorant is the best at controlling odor and wetness, no matter what I'm doing. And now I can have my cleanser, lotion, and antiperspirant all in my favorite scent, which is a total game changer. Jack Black's original Pit Boss deodorant is a top seller. And now you can get the same reliable odor and wetness protection in 4 new masculine scents. Big Sur offers a refreshing aroma that mixes marine accord and amber. Blue Midnight features adventurous notes of black pepper and lavender. Jack Zen presents a grounding blend of bamboo and violet. This is so important that they have the same scent across all sorts of products. I can't tell you how frustrating that is for me. I'm not a huge scent guy. I don't love peppering on a bunch of different scents. It creates like a potpourri that's frankly kind of disgusting to me at a certain point. I like finding one scent I like, riding with that. You can do that with Jack Black. All their products, if you find a scent you like, they make it in all these different products. You can just have one consistent smell. It's unbelievable. Jack Black was founded over 20 years ago with the goal of offering men's body care products that were just as effective as women's body care products. Their commitment to superior skincare has made Jack Black, according to Circana, the #1 men's body care brand by total dollar sales. It's simple, effective products that do what they say they're going to do. If you want simple, effective products that do what they say they're going to do, you need Jack Black. Head to getjackblack.com/Titus and use code Titus, Titus, for 10% off your order and get free shipping as well. Once again, that's getjackblack.com/Titus for 10% off your order plus free shipping. And make sure to use promo code Titus so they know that I sent you. Jack Black. Quick things I want to do before we get out of here. Number 1, Jalen Harrelson to Notre Dame is a huge moment for Micah Shrewsberry because of this. And I might be overstating it, and I don't want to put too much pressure on Micah Shrewsberry, but Micah Shrewsberry is a guy who I believe is going to be a top 5, top 10 coach in college basketball. He just doesn't have a top 5, top 10 resume. He, I think he was like 2 years at Penn State. The second year with Jalen Pickett playing booty ball when he made Brad Underwood lose his mind because Jalen Pickett would just back everybody down and then they would bomb threes. And that Penn State had a nice little tournament run for what Penn State is. And then he gets hired at Notre Dame. They were dog shit last year. We knew they would be. They're very, very young, but he's building something at Notre Dame. If you look at like his head coaching record, I think this is his 4th year as a head coach. I think he's going.
He started in 2001 at Penn State, 01 to 03, and
21.
Yeah. 21. Sorry,
yeah,
20.
It's like 2.
My mistake.
Yeah, 21. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this his 5th year?
I got you in a sec.
He did 01, 02 or 21, 22, right? That was his first year.
Correct.
And then 22, 23 was his second year.
Correct.
And then last year is obviously his first year at Notre Dame. Anyway, his 3 years his win-loss record does not stand out as like
he's 50 and 51 in 3 years.
Right.
Yes.
So his win-loss record, you don't look at that and say, yeah, that's one of the best coaches in college basketball.
Right.
Of course you wouldn't. He's under 500. Those in the know and those that pay attention to Micah Shrewsberry know like he's a phenomenal X's and O's guy, big time players coach, and I think I do think that he's a guy that is on the verge of becoming a top 10 type caliber coach. What that looks like, I don't know. At Notre Dame, does that mean Notre Dame is like competing for national titles, or is it like a case of like he doesn't always have the best talent, but like goddamn, he's always got a competitive team that's doing better than we expect out of them. Whatever else. What stood out to me is him landing a 5-star. Like to see what Micah Shrewsberry is going to be able to do with a 5-star and Jalen Harrelson, who I think very highly of. He's 6'7", long arms, can shoot athletic. He's not as highly ranked in the recruiting rankings
like
as
top
what
15,
as what I expected him to be. But it's the biggest get in Notre Dame history in recruiting as far as like since these services have been around, the star systems and all that. But I think it's a huge moment because this to me, and I said this to you before we did the show, this feels like Thad Matta getting Greg Oden to me. Now, the difference, Thad Matta, when he was at Xavier, he went to an Elite Eight. They won the Big Ten the year before Greg got there, and he had a little more success. And I think like Thad was seen as more of an established coach. But as you remember that era of Ohio State basketball, when Thad got Greg Oden and Mike Conley and that class that I ended up being a part of, even though I wasn't
and Mark
Titus to be there. It just like snap and away we go. And it's like you have a great coach who's like done a lot of good with what he's had, with what he's been given. And now all of a sudden he's getting the 5 stars and he's off. And now all of a sudden, like, Thad Matta, when he was at his peak, if you would have said he's one of the top 10 coaches in the country, no one's really pushing back on that. I think this could be a lesser version of that with Micah Shrewsberry. He's got to get more dudes and he's got to start winning more games for that to happen. But I think this could be a moment in time where you look back and you're like, yeah, I mean, when he got the Jalen Harrelson commitment, that was what started it all for Micah Shrewsberry at Notre Dame.
How hard is it to bring dudes to Notre Dame? Like so first of all, Indiana kids stayed home.
Yeah.
Tough one for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, that's the thing too, is like the Hoosiers, I mean, I've said it a handful of times on the show, like they have bags now and they've been they've been getting just about everybody they want.
So this shows me that Notre Dame has bags.
Yeah.
But also there's always that narrative that's like, hey, Notre Dame football, Notre Dame basketball, like we have to recruit a certain type of kid that can get into our school and that can, be a Notre Dame guy. Is he able to do that there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Notre Dame's like weird because it doesn't really fit in with the rest of Indiana. It's not. It is an Indiana school, but it's not really an Indiana school.
Yeah.
So it's not really. That's what I'm curious. Maybe is this a statement that Micah Shrewsberry is going to go after Indiana kids? Is he going to compete with Purdue and Indiana for the Indiana kids, or is this just? Like
I don't even care about the Indiana. I'm like, is he going to start getting 5 stars to go to Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, that's what I guess. That's what I'm. Is he going to do the 5? Is Jalen Harrelson a 5-star to him, or is Jalen Harrelson an Indiana kid to him, or is he both, or you know what I mean? Like, what is the thought process there?
Great question.
In terms of his recruit, because he just got like Marcus Burton was one of the best players on their team last year. He was Indiana Mr. Basketball. So maybe he's like, I want the Indiana kids, and now he's in the mix with Purdue and Indiana in a way that Notre Dame traditionally isn't.
Mm-hmm.
They do get some Indiana kids, but they're just kind of their own thing. Notre Dame's just Notre Dame. They're not really a
from someone from the outside, I don't like think of Notre Dame as like an Indiana school. I think of Notre Dame as like they're Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Indiana schools
kind
are
of their
Indiana,
own thing. Lastly, Pac-12 stuff. I just kind of want to laugh at it all. I don't know where we're at. I don't know. Does this? I said I wouldn't fight the Scoops fight anymore. And I don't want to, Tate. But so you tell me. I'm gonna let you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you have the opinion on this one. I'll just sit this one out. Does Brett McMurphy saying that Gonzaga is going to the Pac-12 and then everyone being like, no, that's actually not happening, is that a argument in favor of more we need Scoops guys that are credible, and we need these guys like these Wojers out there because the credible Scoops guy is an important position? Or is this an argument like I might make that Scoops guys serve no purpose and we should just, if Gonzaga is in fact ever going to join the Pac-12, just wait till Gonzaga puts out a press release on their own?
I come to you today. I stand corrected, Titus, because it was a interesting 10 minutes of texting we had. I texted you that Gonzaga was going to the Pac-12.
Yeah,
and he reported that meant Gonzaga got a full revenue share without football. Yeah, and all of a sudden now it's like, wait, can they get St. Mary's to go there? This was before like Memphis had said no. It's like, oh my God, this is really happening. This is going to be that basketball conference that we talked about last week. And then Rothstein says, well, that's not true. And then Gonzaga says this is like lazy, inaccurate reporting. And then you made a really good point, which is, can we just let Gonzaga tell us what Gonzaga is going to do?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe that's what we should do. There's also like rumors that the Pac-12 is once UConn, but just for football. Which what?
Who win? I mean, UConn's
what?
a winner there.
Yeah, no shit.
UConn signs up for that.
Like, yeah, they cash checks, but they still get to stay in the Big East for basketball. And
But
like,
something's wrong with the new Pac-12.
but also like, why? I don't. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just so Gonzaga was going to be basketball only. There's rumors that St. Mary's could also be basketball only. UConn would be football only, which is the moneymaker of the sport, but also the least important part about UConn. They're a basketball school.
Yeah.
And then you've got Memphis, Tulane, USF, and UTSA turning down the Pac-12 to stay in the AAC. And they're saying like, hey, the money's not adding up. So part of me's thinking whoever's making these decisions for the new Pac-12 is just trying to like, you don't have to play football. That's cool. Yeah, you don't have to play basketball. It's the moves for the money though.
Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any sort of plan with the Pac-12 right now. But they are, I mean, like they're keeping their head above water. I commend them for that. But it does sort of seem like they're just flying by the seat of their pants. And
they got Utah State agreed to join. Utah State has joined. But then did I see that right? The AAC, like they put out a statement like we're all locking arms and like we're all sticking together. The Mountain West the remaining Mountain West, did I see that as well? Yeah. Like they kind of did the same thing. They posted the AAC schools that were in the rumor to go to the Pac-12 all posted like joint we stand together. Like this conference has never been stronger. Yeah, until the ACC. The true reason is that they didn't have a set amount of money from the Pac-12, and also traveling from fucking Tulane to Oregon State and all these things would be more expensive. And if you can't tell us what the revenue is, we can't commit to it.
Yeah.
But the day the AAC or the ACC calls,
we're
going.
Of course. Yeah, it reminds me of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 forming an alliance, and then within like a year, the Big Ten was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take 4 of your teams."
Yeah.
Thank you. But thanks for that alliance. That was good.
Did you see
a good alliance?
Something I saw earlier today? Did you see the SEC and the Big Ten are having a joint meeting? That's big. All ADs together.
I know, and that's
without the NCAA.
If that's why, if I was these other conferences, I'm a broken record at this point with this stuff, but I think these other conferences, they're not dummies. They know that like if the Big Ten and the SEC could have it their way, they would both break off from the NCAA. They would form their own thing, especially with like football now. The football is. Football's in a position like I find the conference realignment stuff fascinating for basketball, because I think football, even though it's driving everything, I do think until proven otherwise, the Big Ten and the SEC are the only two that really matter. And that's not to say like Miami has a good football team this year, Clemson has a decent program, Florida State is a good program. There are other programs that the Big 12 has good programs. I'm not here to say that like all these teams are ass and it's like that big of a gap between the Big Ten and the SEC and the rest of the pack. I believe that in the modern structure of these two mega conferences and a 12-team playoff, until proven otherwise, I have a hard time believing there's ever going to be a national champion that's not Big Ten or SEC.
Right.
So there is a world where the Big Ten and SEC, like if we play out this playoff for 10, 15 years and they realize it's just like always us, it's just us two.
Yeah, what do we need? Like,
why don't we just break off? And I don't think it's ever going to get to that. But basketball, again, this is the broken record part, as I've said a million times. I think basketball, like the Big 12 especially and the Big East, they have realized like they can't do that. The Big Ten and the SEC can't break off, which is why this conference realignment stuff is so fascinating to a basketball guy like me, because I do think it does matter if the Pac-12 can build a viable basketball conference, and if Gonzaga's joining or if UConn's joining but not with basketball, then like what does that mean? And it's the reason for what you just said. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC are meeting. Like, what do you think they're meeting about?
Exactly.
Do you think they're meeting about like helping the Pac-12? Do you think they're meeting about like
no? But I guess
of course not.
My dream, and I know I have no facts on this, I have no basis, but can we get to a point? Can the SEC and the Big Ten meet about football and say we don't need anyone else? Like, I need this big super league for football and invite everyone that's important and play it out, whatever. Can then the rest of the sports go back to what it was?
Yeah.
Like, why?
I would love that. Yeah.
I can't believe that we're sending like Oregon to Rutgers to play like softball and to like, oh yeah, we got a softball game on Wednesday and you have to go from Rutgers to USC. And then you got to take these long, And that's softball. What about like swimming and different Olympic college sports? It makes no sense. Let football do their thing, and then let's go regionalism again.
I have a parting thought for you.
Let's hear it.
You can take this one home and just sit on it.
Got my pen.
Did the Ivy League have it right the whole time? Did the Ivy League, who was like, no, we're not going to do TV contracts. We're not going to do. I don't even think they give athletic scholarships. And the entire Ivy League's point of view is like, you're here to be a student. Sports are just kind of an extracurricular.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just going to leave it at that.
Remember.
Is that
The term student athlete, student comes first.
There might be a world, dude, where like I've just like locked in on Ivy League in a way. I'm like, dude, I miss what college sports is. Like, this is just obviously professional sports. Why don't I watch Ivy League? And then I'll watch Ivy League and be like, nah, never mind.
Nope, never
These
mind.
fucking nerds can't hoop. All right, I think that's it. Basketball practice is back on, and I'm fired up for it. I think we hit everything I need to hit. We could save that for later. I was going to ask you about the Buckeye football team conference. We're playing Michigan State tomorrow, and I was just curious. We could talk off air, but I was just curious. Are you as where's your headspace at with this team in particular?
I think that we just played a preseason slate as an NFL team would play a preseason slate. Yeah. I think we are about to turn it on, and a little bet for the viewers. Michigan State team total under 7 tomorrow.
Oh.
I think the Buckeyes, I think people are nervous that we've like given up a touchdown to Marshall, and we gave up points to Akron. We just played the preseason, boys.
What's your credibility with this stuff though? Are you someone who is always this way?
Well, kind of.
Yeah, you kind of are. I'm not. I'm usually I try to think of myself as a level-headed Ohio State football fan, which, it's kind of impossible. It's an oxymoron. But this is the most excited I've been for a team since 2019.
Yeah.
I fucking love watching them play.
And just
I can't. Yeah, I'm very vulnerable as an Ohio State football fan in a way I haven't been in a few years.
Michigan State,
because the last handful of years I've been like, I hope we can put it together to win it. Like, I think we could put it together. Like, I mean, like last year's team was, and it sounds insane to say, last year's team was good enough to win. Like, we were driving to beat Michigan at Michigan.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. Michigan wins the national championship, and it's like, I don't know. I look back on it, I'm like, I mean, I don't know how you can argue we weren't good enough to win the net. Like, when you're
we were 5 points away.
Your one loss was you had the ball driving at the national champion's home field, and you lost, and then that's how
with an average quarterback.
But that's been my attitude, is like, boy, I sure hope this team. I'm like, oh my god, like, we're the betting favorites, dude.
Yeah,
we're the betting favorites to win the national championship. And I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm not making guarantees. I'm just saying in front of God and country, I'm vulnerable in a way I haven't been in like 5 years.
I'm gonna put on my realistic hat, not my Buckeye hat. Our defense is all-time elite. Our running back is our running back room is the best in the country. We are what Michigan was last year, and I think we're just gonna roll everyone.
I hope so. But yeah, we didn't need to do that. People are gonna be disgusted by what just happened.
Team total under.
I don't know. I'm excited. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. We're going to. By the way, we're gonna go to 2 a week at some point. Obviously, like when basketball season gets here, I still think it's a little early for that. I'm trying to figure out, like, frankly, Brandon Walker's schedule. He uses the studio too for that unnecessary show he does. So we have to juggle that and some of the other things. Like, we have obviously mostly sports every day and the Yak every day. So it's partly that. It's partly like, I don't know if there's an appetite for 2 a week quite yet. But it is coming at some point in October. We're gonna shift to 2 a week, and we're gonna get fired up about college basketball being back. For now, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys.